Hey everybody, I'm Christopher Green. You're tuning in to AMTV Alternative Media Television. It is Wednesday, April 29, 2015. I was reviewing some of the comments from my viral video that I put out on Bruce Jenner, the interview, Unfiltered. If you haven't watched it yet, you really should. It's gone viral and of course only proves my point that it's what the masses are most concerned with. A guy cutting his dick off. But I was reading the comment section. You guys crack me up. I don't know who said this, but one guy said in reference to Bruce Jenner saying that his soul had always been a woman. There was comments like, well, Christopher, my soul has always been a pink pony. That was uprated. But the gentleman that really cracked me up, or maybe it was a girl, I guess it probably was a gentleman, said that, Christopher, I'm a middle-aged balding man who has the soul of a 20-year-old with a full head of hair and a really big dick. Which I think is really, really funny. You know, it's amazing how politically correct we are. I talked about this with the protests and the riots, of course, that we're seeing in Baltimore. I even saw an individual, I can't think of his name, but said and insinuated that if you called the Baltimore violence and those perpetrating the violence on the street in Baltimore, lighting cop cars on fire, lighting buildings and businesses, if you called them a thug, you might as well just call them the N-word. He used the word nigger on CNN. He used it a few times. You see how they always want to control this narrative? They want to make it that if you just call a duck a freaking duck, you're a racist. I mean, how are you not a thug when you're lighting cars on fire? How are you not a thug when you're lighting the city streets of Baltimore on fire? You know, I say call a duck what it actually is. Also, I'd like to consider an AMA, Ask Me Anything. In fact, if you have a question or comment, put it in the description box below, and I will consider answering it in an upcoming video. I also want to talk today about the Middle East. While we're worse off now than we were, say, a decade ago, or several decades ago, before all of these wars, courtesy of George W. Bush, courtesy and a continuation of the same campaign through the Obama administration today, because of course it is all a part of the agenda. You know, if we take a snapshot of the Middle East today, if we look at Iraq specifically, we look at Syria, for example, what makes up the Levant, you'll notice that the entire area has been destabilized. This is post, of course, 1 million plus Iraqis, according to some estimates, having lost their lives as a result of direct U.S. intervention. 1 million freaking people dead as a result of the United States federal government and our action, only to have more destabilization in the Levant today. But of course, that was always the agenda. We look at Afghanistan, for example, the Taliban gaining more strength, largely taking the country back. We look at Syria with this Western-backed push, attempt to overthrow the government of Bashar al-Assad, this fakery that made up the allegation that the chemical attacks were perpetrated against his own people by the Assad government, even though that came to be total bullshit, according to the head of the UN, Carla Del Ponte, and others, pointing out, as well as us here at AMTV, that it was total and utter propaganda. Even the formation of ISIS, this new boogeyman, total bullshit. I mean, you watch the videos, not that ISIS isn't real, not that they're not dangerous, not that they're not an evil group of people, but have you seen how highly produced this shit is? Have you seen how highly produced, not just the videos are, I mean, some of them are cut better than what you see here in a studio at AMTV Studios. That's how ridiculous and crazy this actually is. You know, the entire Middle East, honestly, it's a cesspool right now, and it's courtesy of the United States federal government, our intelligence operations overseas. But of course, that was the agenda. It's why Saudi Arabia has been bombing Yemen. It's why we're getting all this propaganda that Houthi rebels, backed by Iran, are destabilizing that part of the world, in that part of the area. Notice also yesterday, Wall Street news, this shook the markets. This was very spooky. A Western cargo ship that they originally thought was a U.S. cargo ship had been overtaken by the Revolutionary Guard or Iranian-backed groups that actually directed it to port, only showcasing that this instability is increasing. Also, King Salman of Saudi Arabia appointed, I believe it was his son. They're kind of shaking up this whole oil game overseas right now. And of course, keep your eye on oil. Several months ago, I said oil was a very good strategic investment, that it was a value play. You could look at some of these offshore drillers. You could look at larger companies like ExxonMobil that pay a solid dividend. You could look at exploration companies. You could just look at oil specifically. You could play the commodity. You could do a number of things because, of course, all of this had been artificially pushed lower as an economic act of war against Russia, against Iran. And notice how it's been rallying hard off those short-term lows that were put in just a few months ago. I believe it was in February. Notice how oil is up huge. It's moving today. And how all of this was just a fakery campaign. All of this was just artificial manipulation, which is really just the world that we live. Again, a dazed and confused mainstream media propagandized society, more focused on Bruce Jenner cutting his dick off than they are losing their freedoms, a mass illegal surveillance state, the President of the United States, an elitist who is radically transforming America to his own vision, the vision that he represents, the corporate interests that he represents. You see, there's no difference between Republican and Democrat. They represent the same corporate interests and the same corporate agenda. It's exactly why Bush started, continued, propelled these wars in the Middle East. It's why Obama has been no different. It's why he's illegally drone striking in parts of Syria. It's why he's continued these wars. It's why it's just more of the same propaganda campaign. It's why I would argue we're much better off with an opposition leader, someone that at least is coming from a different place, like Rand Paul. But again, it isn't the final solution. It really is up to the American people, the people of the world, to force these officials to represent us, to represent them, and to enforce this representative government. Something's going to go boom in the not too distant future. There's just this really uncanny feeling that I have right now. I think many of you probably have this feeling, the same feeling as well. Something's going to go boom. You know, many of these countries like Russia and Iran, for example, need oil prices above $100 a barrel. I believe Iran needs it above $130 a barrel. Oil is nowhere near that right now. It's been cut by its balls in half. So at some point, there's going to be a repercussion. Again, the United States implemented an embargo against Japan just months before the bombing and attack of Pearl Harbor and largely the entrance of World War II. So the question is, how does this unfold? Where and what will be that next catalyst unto which we enter war? I think many of us just feel it internally, instinctually, but it's going to be a natural result of all this fakery, this scam being implemented by the Federal Reserve, these financial bailouts, this financial trickery, artificial manipulation of the commodity market, oil, the petrodollar relationship, these counter-current waves that we're seeing overseas rising from the east with the AIIB, the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, which is a competitor to the World Bank and is aiming to be the new lender of global governments and the world at large. All of this at some point is going to break. Whether or not it starts with a Grexit, and that's the catalyst, or it's a September 11th, 2001 style event, or it's another Pearl Harbor, or it's a suitcase bomb or a nuke in American City, something is going to go off. Whether or not it's perpetrated directly by an enemy nation, a terrorist organization, or group, something is going to happen. Again, it's kind of like water moving. You know, if the water rises over here, it's going to, fall on the opposite side. And so we're going to get a balance. We're going to get a reversion to the mean. I'd also like to hear, again, I'd like to consider an AMA. Ask me anything. Put your question in the comment box below. I'll consider it for an upcoming video. Thanks again for all your tremendous support. Please excuse that this video isn't as edited as coolly as it normally is because my editor is out today, so we'll be doing some of that work as best we can. I ask you, too, to please continue to donate to our cause and to this independent channel, which makes up Alternative Media Television. Please donate $5, $10, $20, $100, $500 or more right now. We really are a crowd funded media machine. And that's pretty special. You know, I was watching a commercial on MTV that a friend alerted me to, and all of them were YouTubers. But guess what? All of them were pop culture YouTubers. You see, it's very easy to be a star when all it is you do is talk about poppy pop culture and you're focused in that illusion. But to be the countercurrent wave, which really is what we are, we need your support. I need your support. And it's not just me that I'm supporting quite a few other people here at AMTV Studios. And most importantly, we're actively working at growing our campaign. Notice one of the reasons you didn't see me a lot last week is we've been doing a major site redevelopment at amtvmedia.com. So check that out. Go to amtvmedia.com right now. We're putting news. We're going to start, because of popular demand, doing some exclusive content, exclusive videos not seen on YouTube on our website. So please check back daily. Again, continue to support us. Please donate. Also want to thank you, our audience, most importantly, also our sponsors that have been with us from the very beginning. Over 2,000 videos posted online in over 5 years here at AMTV. Thanks again. I'm Christopher Green, hard hitting it in your face, and click the link below to support our sponsor.